The biggest reveal in the season 4 finale was not Fatima's transformation. It was not the bones. It was not Henry trying to kill Victor. It was not even Sophia. It was that single conversation. The boy in white and Sophia standing face to face, speaking like they already knew each other. And if that is true, then everything we thought the show was building toward might be wrong. Because for 4 seasons, the show trained us to think in opposites. Good versus evil. Escape versus imprisonment. The boy in white versus the man in yellow. But episode 10 quietly destroys that idea. Because enemies do not talk like that. Enemies do not speak with familiarity. Enemies do not update each other. And that changes everything. Because if Sophia and the boy in white know each other, then this entire town is not a war. It is a system. A system both of them are part of. And that means the residents were never caught in the middle of a battle. They were placed inside a machine. A machine designed to do one thing. Break hope, rebuild hope, and repeat. That is the theory. Not that the boy in white is secretly evil. Not that Sophia is secretly good. But that both of them are parts of the same mechanism. Different roles. Same purpose. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Sophia sees him and says, "You've grown." That line matters more than people realize. Because it tells us one terrifying thing. This is not their first cycle together. She has seen him before. Not once. Not twice. Enough times to notice change. Enough times to track growth. That means the cycles are older than we imagined. Far older. And here's what changes everything. If Sophia has seen him grow, then the boy in white is changing across cycles. Learning. Evolving. That means he is not some fixed supernatural guide. He is developing. And if he is developing, then he is trapped too. Think about that. The one character we trusted the most may not be helping because he wants to. He may be helping because that is his function. That's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why he keeps trying. And episode 10 gives us the answer. The bones. Jade and Tabitha finding those bones underground changes the mythology of this entire show. Because everyone assumed the children were victims. Sacrifices. Lost souls. But what if they were something else? Look at the placement. Buried beneath the tunnels. Hidden below the system itself. Preserved. Not destroyed. Preserved. That word matters. Because monsters in this show do not destroy randomly. Everything has purpose. Everything. And this is the detail everyone missed. Sophia starts killing directly the moment the bones are uncovered. Why? Why now? Why abandon manipulation? Why move into cleanup mode? Because the bones were never just remains. They were anchors. Pieces of the system, holding something in place. And once Jade and Tabitha pulled them out, the balance shifted. That is why Sophia became desperate. That is why patience disappeared. And that tells us something terrifying. The system can break. But here's where it gets darker. Tabitha finding her daughter's skull among those bones might be the most important clue of all. Because that should not be possible. Not unless time inside this place is broken. Or repeating. Or layered. Think about the implications. If that skull belongs to her daughter, then her daughter died there long before Tabitha ever arrived. Which means one of two things is true. Either Tabitha has been here before, or everyone in this town exists in overlapping cycles. And both possibilities are horrifying, because both mean the past is not gone. It is underneath them. Literally. Buried. Waiting. And Jade's reaction proves something else. He immediately accepts the emotional truth of it. No disbelief. No questioning. Just recognition. Like some part of him already knew. And this is where the show gets very clever. Because Jade and Tabitha have always been mirrors. Always. They are the two characters most tied to memory. Visions. Patterns. Fragments. What if that is not random? What if they are not discovering clues? What if they are remembering? That changes their entire role. They are not solving the system. They are recovering previous failed attempts to escape it. And if that is true, then how many times have they failed already? 5? 10? 50? And how many times has the boy in white watched it happen? That question changes him. Because suddenly his calmness feels different. Less comforting. more rehearsed, like someone who has seen this all before, over and over again. And maybe that is why Sophia smiles at him, not because she fears losing, but because she has heard him say that before. You're going to lose this time. That line sounds hopeful, but what if it is routine? What if he says it every cycle? What if hope itself is part of the trap? And if that's true, then the boy in white may not be trying to save them. He may be keeping them trying. And there is a huge difference between those two things. And once you accept that possibility, everything else in episode 10 starts to look completely different. Because the finale was not showing us random chaos. It was showing us the system correcting itself. Look at Henry. For an entire season, Henry has been split between two realities. One feels real. One feels false. But that is exactly the trap. The show wants us asking which reality is true. But that's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why the man in yellow wanted Henry to attack Victor. Because Victor is not just another resident. Victor is memory. Victor is history. Victor is evidence. And systems like this survive by controlling memory. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Victor has survived every cycle. Every single one. People die. Families vanish. Entire groups are erased. Victor remains. That should bother you. Because survival in From is never random. Not at this level. And this is the detail everyone missed. The monsters never truly hunt Victor the way they hunt everyone else. Yes, they threaten him. Yes, they surround him. But somehow he remains. Again and again. Why? Because Victor is part of the machine. Not willingly, but structurally. He remembers what others forget. And the system needs that. Why? Because without memory, hope cannot reset properly. Think about it. New people arrive. They panic. They search. They break. But then Victor gives them fragments. Stories. Patterns. Warnings. Just enough information to make them believe there is a bigger answer. That belief creates movement. Hope. And hope creates energy. That is the pattern. Victor is not just surviving the cycles. He is feeding them. And this is where it gets darker. Henry trying to kill Victor proves the man in yellow understands that Victor has become unstable. Too aware. Too informed. Too dangerous. Victor is no longer just carrying memory. He is connecting it. And that changes everything. Because memory without understanding is harmless. Memory with understanding becomes rebellion. That is why Henry was weaponized. Not to kill a man. To erase a pattern. To delete evidence. And now look at Fatima. Because Fatima's transformation is not just body horror. It is mythology. Smiley calling her mother changes the entire monster system. That one word is proof. Proof that transformation is biological, transferable, repeatable. And if it is repeatable, then the monsters are not ancient creatures. They are manufactured. That changes everything. Because for 4 seasons, we believed these creatures were the jailers. But what if they are the failed prisoners? Look at what the show is actually telling us. Fatima was infected. Slowly changed. Mentally fractured. Emotionally isolated. Then converted. That process was gradual. Painful. Controlled. Which means every creature we have seen probably went through the same thing. Boyd. Kenny. Donna. Tabitha. Any of them could become one. That means the monsters are not separate from the town. They are what the town does to people. And this is the detail everyone missed. Smiley does not attack her. He studies her. Like checking the process. Like verifying the result. That means monsters understand transformation. They know what she is becoming. And if they know, who taught them? Who created the process? Sophia. Or the man in yellow. And suddenly Sophia's blood becomes the most dangerous substance in the entire show. Because it is not blood. It is code. A living infection. A blueprint. That's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why the town keeps needing new monsters. Why keep making them? Why not just keep the ones you have? Simple. Because the town consumes them. Just like it consumes people. Everything here decays. Everything. And that means the monsters are not permanent. They are renewable, replaceable, like batteries. And here's what changes everything. If monsters are former residents, then the children under the tunnels were not victims. They were unfinished transformations.
Think about that.
Children caught mid-process.
Stopped. Preserved.
Frozen in that stage.
Why?
Because children represent pure hope, pure belief. And if this place feeds on hope, then children would be its strongest fuel source. That makes the underground grave far worse. It is not a burial ground. It is storage, a reserve. And Jade and Tabitha uncovering it may have triggered something catastrophic. Because now the system is exposed. And when systems are exposed, they evolve. That is why Sophia started moving faster. That is why Henry was activated. That is why Fatima completed transformation. These were not isolated events. They were responses. Automatic. Like the machine recognizing a threat and defending itself. But here's where it gets darker. The ghost. The same formless presence around Julie and Ethan. That is not random haunting. That is communication. And if it is Jim, then death in from is not death. It is relocation. That changes the stakes completely. Because if dead people remain inside the system, then the system is bigger than the town. Much bigger. The town is only the visible layer. And underneath it, there is something else. Somewhere else. And that means escape may not be escape at all. It may just be moving deeper. And now we reach the scene that changes the entire architecture of From. Not emotionally. Structurally. The boy in white and Sophia standing together.
Talking. Calm.
Familiar. And once you really look at that scene, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. They are not enemies. They are managers. Different roles. Same machine. Look at the way they speak. No fear. No surprise. No urgency. Just recognition. Sophia looks at him and says he has grown. That means she has watched him across cycles. But here's what changes everything. Growth means time. Time means repetition. And repetition means design. This place is not chaos. It is engineered. And the boy in white may be the clearest proof of that. For 4 seasons he has guided people. Victor.
Sarah.
Ethan. Tabitha. Always giving pieces. Never answers. That matters. Because if he truly wanted escape, he could tell them everything. Where the tunnels are. What the monsters are. What the symbols mean. Who Sophia really is. But he never does.
Why?
Because information is controlled here. Even by him. And this is the detail everyone missed. He only gives enough truth to keep movement alive. Never enough to end the game. That is not salvation. That is maintenance. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Every time people get close to truth, something interrupts.
A death.
A vision. A new arrival. A disaster. The cycle is protected. Always. And the boy in white exists inside that protection. That means his role is not breaking the cycle. It is balancing it. And this is where it gets darker. Sophia says, they have the bones now, but the bottle tree is gone. That line is terrifying. Because it sounds procedural. Like updating a partner. Not confronting an enemy.
Think about that.
The bottle tree was never just symbolism. It was infrastructure. A mechanism. Part of the machine. And now it is gone. Meaning the system has lost one of its stabilizers. That explains everything. The chaos. The urgency. Fatima changing. Henry snapping. The ghost appearing. The machine is destabilizing. And when systems destabilize, they become dangerous. But here's the final layer. The most terrifying one. What if the boy in white and the man in yellow are not 2 beings at all? What if they are 2 expressions of one force? One side preserves hope. One side destroys it. But both need each other. Because hope without fear becomes escape. And fear without hope becomes surrender. The system needs both. Balance. Push and pull. Light and dark. That is how it feeds. That is how it survives. Look at every cycle. People arrive. They suffer. They search. They hope. They lose. Then new people arrive.
It repeats.
Not because the man in yellow wins, but because the machine needs emotional renewal. That's not the real mystery. The real mystery is what powers it. And I think episode 10 finally gave us the answer.
People.
Human emotion.
Hope. Grief. Love. Fear.
All of it. That is the fuel. That fallen tree in the road? It is not a trap. It is intake. The monsters? Not guards. Recycled fuel. Victor? Not survivor. Memory storage. The boy in white? Not savior. Hope regulator. Sophia? Not villain. Collapse enforcer. And the residents? Not prisoners. Batteries. That is the terrifying truth. This town does not want to kill you. It wants to use you.
Drain you. Reset you. Repeat you.
And suddenly Tabitha finding her daughter's skull becomes the most horrifying clue in the entire show. Because if her daughter died there before, then Tabitha has been through this before. Maybe all of them have. Maybe every resident is returning. Again. And again. And again. Without remembering. That would explain the déjà vu. The visions. The strange connections. The unfinished memories. They are not discovering the truth. They are recovering it. And if that is true, Season 5 is not about escaping. It is about remembering. Really remembering. Because memory is the only thing this machine cannot fully erase. And if Victor, Jade, and Tabitha connect their memories, the cycle could finally break. But here's the question that should terrify everyone. If the boy in white is part of the machine, what happens when they stop trusting him? Because maybe Sophia was never afraid of losing. Maybe she was waiting for the one cycle where hope stops working. And if that cycle has finally begun, then Season 5 will not be about survival. It will be about collapse. Total collapse. And if the system collapses, what exactly is waiting underneath it?